is that because, big picture wise, if you have the option of retreating without taking a chance that you might be killing somebody who's innocent, you should retreat because that's the more reasonable approach?
It's absolutely, and you ought to call the authorities in. You ought to call those people in whose job it is to enforce the law, and you ought to give them that opportunity to do so. And you shouldn't we should never take law into our own hands. We ought to leave it to people who are supposed to enforce and who are...
Yeah, unless it's the last resort. In other words, if you're backed into a corner and you can't wait for the police to come, then if you're acting reasonably, then you have no worries defending yourself.
Absolutely, but of course, the new law says you don't have to be backed into a corner.
Right.
You don't have to be up against a wall. You don't have to be... The thing doesn't necessarily have to progress to a point where I'm going to get a knife in my throat unless I kill. It can be something, John, as a belief that that person who I am engaged now with in some kind of fashion that's not reasonable, but that person does something that gives me the belief that my life now might be in danger. That person goes into their pocket, and based on everything that's happened so far, it's reasonable for me to believe in their pocket is a gun. I can shoot that person.
Right, and that's, and I bet you saw that in your own courthouse, where someone accused of committing murder says, no, I thought that he was pulling a gun out of his pocket. Turned out to be a stick of gum or, you know, a cell phone, but I thought he was going for a weapon, and I felt like I didn't have a choice.
We've seen it in terms of police encounters with individuals on the street. We've seen that kind of piece play out. We've seen it in terms of your private citizen. Again, we've seen that piece play out. And invariably, though, it has been a determination by jury or either grand jury or petit jury as regards whether that was a reasonable belief.
Right. And the DA goes to the grand jury or the petit jury to ask the grand jurors, this isn't the actual trial, but in order to make a determination whether to prosecute.
Or not. Absolutely, whether you prosecute or not. Okay. And in so many instances, the decision is not. That's just a fact. The decision is not to prosecute.